Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Veterans takeover, baby.
Huh?
Veterans takeover.
I see. What? Okay. Well. Okay. There is a top to that hat. Is it? Okay. All right. All right. All right. Good morning, Cowboy Jacks. I salute you. Happy Veterans Day,
morning,
man.
LMH. What's shaking, baby?
I'm just excited to be here. I'm really excited about what you got for us today. You guys, if you're wondering how Jax got in here, he's really the lead host today. I wanted to sit back and listen for a minute. We'll see how that works out. But still, we got a bunch of great human beings here who just happen to be veterans and business owners and some really great people. Get ready, y'all, for real. We've got Soldier Girl Coffee in the house, Triple Nickels here, Brian Bailey. We got some footage to show you, all kinds of stuff. Stick Tap for Service. Google it. You're going to want to after you see what we've got for you today. So, Jax, tell us a little bit about the people you brought, and then I'll go in a little deeper about Ruben and the Triple Nickel crew, and then we'll get them in here.
Absolutely. Well, I just wanted to start out to say, today is November 11th, which is Veterans Day. And I just wanted our audience, to understand that a U.S. veteran is someone that served honorably in selected service, correct? They didn't have to go to a war. They didn't have to experience some kind of trauma. They could have, served honorably, and then started the next chapter of their life. And today, with over 100 years, I think that is what our focus is. So I have brought in some dynamite guests today that are leading the way in the life after the uniform movement.
Is that a
We
real
have
thing?
what
Or
the life after the
did you just
uniform
make that
movement.
up? Life after
No,
the
that's
uniform movement.
that's through Save Homefront.
What's Save Homefront? See how I'm doing this?
Uh, Save Homefront is the nonprofit that I'm the CEO and founder of, where
Ah,
our focus is
well,
creating an authentic
who
depiction of
knew?
U.S. veterans.
Okay. All
Man,
right.
I'm playing it like people have already seen my show, bro. Like
Well,
they've already seen me as a guest on
you
here.
know what the
So
four agreement says about when we assume.
yes,
Don't do
ask
it.
you
We
me.
just want
Got
people
it.
to know. Listen, I just don't want you and what you do to get lost between the cushions here today, because I know I know you, and you're of service, and you're going to be pulling all those golden nuggets out of the guest we have today. So I just wanted to make sure you had your moment. So go ahead, tell everybody really quickly what you do, why you do it, and how you came to know the people you brought today, and then I'll toss it in. I'll toss in and talk about Ruben.
Absolutely. And, I really appreciate that, Lauren, because, I spend a lot of time networking and uplifting other people. So sometimes I do forget about myself. So
Oh,
I do
I'm sorry. I don't
appreciate
know who hit the shameless plug. Y'all quit it. You're gonna
I,
scare poor little Jack. I'm
I
sorry,
do
Jack. Somebody hit
appreciate,
that kid down.
I do appreciate the shameless plug. So my name is Cowboy Jax. I'm the CEO and founder of SHF or Save Homefront. We opened the doors in 2016, and since then our focus has been creating an authentic depiction of U.S. veterans. We have a thing that is called the hashtag Life After the Uniform movement, where we focus on U.S. veterans that have done extraordinary things in life after the uniform and entertainment, because statistics show that the majority of Americans say that they don't know how to relate to a U.S. veteran, but yet they relate to people like Johnny Cash, Morgan Freeman, Johnny Carson, to name a few. Rob Riggle, I know you've seen some of his movies as well, and also in sports. I mean, there's a
Mhm.
lot of amazing U.S. veterans there too. That's a cool segue, because today we have Brian Bailey on with us, who actually is a business operations manager for the Predators, the Nashville Predators. And he has an amazing organization that we'll dig into in a little bit.
Oh,
We have
just showed
Carrie
up.
Beavers.
What's up?
What up, dog?
What's up?
We have Carrie Beavers from Soldier Girl Coffee, who is an amazing U.S. female veteran. That's right, folks. Women are veterans too, and she serves more than coffee with her brand, which is amazing. And last but not
Yeah.
least, from the film industry, the film distribution industry, this man has helped to bring over 430 films through Universal Studios to theaters. Marcus Bovey II, who has an amazing organization that helps to center on being able to get U.S. veterans content to the big screen, and a few other things that we'll be able to get into today. So what I really want y'all to focus on today, listeners, is that we're not really going to talk about military service today with these individuals. We're going to talk about the life after the uniform movement and
Okay,
what their
but
life
wait,
has been like in their
hold
businesses and
on.
things of that
Let
nature.
me get
So,
Ruben in here. I want him,
okay,
Um,
we'll scoot him on
wait,
in.
first of all, he the only other brother here, and he's gonna be saying, "How come I was last?" I'm just playing, Ruben. But let me get Ruben here. Triple Nick.
Hey, I'm
Hey, you already know
I'm
what
pretty
I was
sure that I'm a
thinking.
brother.
Boy, please. Yeah, you are. You're my brother from another mother. Well, Ruben, I'm
Yes.
liking the log cabin look and all that rustic thing you got
Thank you.
going.
I did that.
I love it.
That took me
Tell
like
everybody about
20,
Triple Nickel.
20
I want
pallets.
you to. What's that?
That was like 20 pallets. I did
I
that
love
myself.
that. That's smart. You gotta make
Appreciate
me
that.
one of those for Christmas. Listen, tell everybody what the 555 was, is, and is going to become. Keep going. Tell us about. Give them a little backstory, real quick. Drop some
Yeah.
knowledge.
Hey, good morning, everybody. So, just like all of you, I'm a former veteran. Well, I am a veteran, not a former veteran, but former Army officer. I was a Special Forces officer, and I started out as an infantry guy in the 82nd Airborne, if you were in the Army. And the lineage that a lot of us look back towards and honor is the lineage of the 555th Parachute Infantry Battalion. And when the Army was segregated, that was the first all-black paratrooper unit. And it was a test platoon to see if people of color could fall out of airplanes correctly and serve during World War II. So when it came time to create our company, I wanted to create a story about that legacy to show a different side of service. So we started an apparel company with the main mission of celebrating the diversity in the armed forces, you know, because what we saw last year when we started the company was the lack of diversity in the retail space in our community. And we wanted to show particularly our kids that, hey, women serve too, people of color serve too. You just don't have to be a big burly guy with tattoo sleeves all over who was a Delta Force sniper Navy SEAL, because there's a lot more of us out here who serve. So that's the purpose of Triple Nickel, and that's the story that we bring with us.
Thank you. And I'm glad you were able to get that out there because it's important. And I really, I just want to say this before we get into the, Jack's taking everything and running with it today, is I really appreciate the work that I've been able to do with you and your brand over the last quarter or two. Some really great work, the PSAs that, you know, the work with the Library of Congress, all the stuff you did during the Gay Pride Month, the LGBT line that you have out that my husband Brian and I are brand ambassadors for, just all the great things that you do to, you know, stand up at the front of the line. You don't wait until, you know, if Triple Nickel doesn't wait to see if the hoses and the dogs get turned on the people up front before they get up front and start opening their mouths about what's important to them. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of our guests today. And I'm going to let Jax just, so I'm going to become one of you all right now, if that's okay. And Jax, it's all yours. Run with it.
All right. Well, today is the Veteran Day takeover for Bathrobe Moments, and I am beyond honored to be the co-host today to you amazing U.S. veterans. So Lauren is always promoting other people. So what I'd like Lauren to do now is to give his little ditty since he had everyone else give theirs.
Oh, I'm glad I rehearsed this. And 1, 2, 3, and I love. I'm just kidding. Okay. As you can see, that's why they call me and my family Uncle Carlton. Clearly, no rhythm. Right? But I can do that one. So anyway, what was the question? Okay.
Why don't you just explain?
We'll
just start with. Hold on. Why don't we just start with how has your life been since the uniform?
Oh boy, we don't have enough time. It's been a lot of things. It's been up, down. It's been corner to corner. It's been side to side. It's been all those things. But it's been purposeful. I'll say that. The one thing I do want to throw in there, that piece that I'm bringing today is because I was serving in the early 80s during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And you know, I didn't really realize until maybe 7 months ago when I became 70% service connected because they found some stuff in my file and called me up and said, how have you been over the last 30 some years? Because we found something in there which really was illegal, the way you were treated as an LGBT, as a gay man, right? And it didn't matter back then, but they came and started sweeping the crumbs off the table. And so I'll say, you know, I'm more proud today about my history with the service than I've ever been. Let's put it that way.
That's awesome.
Because, you know, they helped me. They helped me see something I had buried. I really didn't. I was like, what are y'all talking about? And then when we got in there, and I'm in therapy now because I wondered, how did I not remember it? How did I not remember this thing that was written right? Because they asked me about it and they came rushing in and it was verbatim, word for word. And that's when they instantly just said, okay, service connected. Just like that. So that's my thing. I mean, you know, it's a lot different today. It's a lot easier. Like Triple Nickel was saying, Ruben, people can come in, women, don't have, and women still have it rough. I've had a lot of guests, but you know, my life is good. I'll say this: the military, in my experience, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, has provided tons of grout for all the various tiles of my journey, and it holds everything that's meaningful for me together. So
That's wonderful.
that's
Brian, let's just go ahead and caveat over to you. We'll just do like a little round robin. Obviously, you know, we have an hour of time, everyone, so let's make sure we're respectful
and
that
I've
we
got
get all
Brian's
of our
video.
experiences and stories in.
Don't
Yeah,
forget, I got
and
Brian's video.
yeah, we'll get to that.
Tell me
Brian,
when
so just kind of walk us through what life has been like for you after the uniform. Just your life, not what you do. We'll get into that, but just briefly, what's life been like since the uniform?
Yeah, of course it's been you know, it's been different, right? There's a lot of hurdles you don't realize you were even going to face, even though you thought you knew what it was going to be like as soon as you get out. It turns out you had absolutely no idea. So I mean, there's a lot of small things that I've had to overcome. Luckily, I had a short period between when I actually retired out of the military into when I got into my next job. You know, like I retired and then like 6 hours later I was working. So it was a little bit easier of a transition, but then, you know, transitioning from the military workplace into a civilian workplace is a totally different ball game. Just communication. I'd say communication is probably the biggest thing, right?
Yeah, and it's not so much the ability to communicate, to clarify, it's the way that that communication is executed, right? Because there's a definitive military speak that we all traditionally get used to. And as we transverse to start to be with our community neighbors, non-veterans, we find very immediately on a consistent basis that they speak completely different than what we're used to as
Well,
we are moving into that next chapter.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tone and a tempo that we just use. It's a very direct form of communication, which is extremely efficient, and we all know that. And then you learn, right? All of us have had to learn. You know, Lauren had to learn more than all of us about having thick skin, I'm sure. But I mean, you're very used to coming in and telling somebody exactly what you want, when you want it, and how you want it done, and that's the end of the conversation. A lot of times, you know, a little encouragement, but it's very direct. And you know, in the civilian population, everything's a little bit more passive, right? Everybody, you have to kind of massage the conversation a little bit more than you normally would. And that's something I've definitely had to try and get around a bit. You know, I my military days, I was an infantry first sergeant, so you can imagine a lot of my conversations started with my hand, you know, and pointing directly at people and some things like that. So I try to holster that and go back to a normal kind of tone and tempo that everybody's used to.
I love that. We're definitely going to we're gonna dive into that here in a little bit. Miss Carrie, I'm sure as always, representing strong for the female veteran community. What has your life been like since the uniform?
All right. Well, I want to say Happy Veterans Day to everybody. And I really tried to condense this because there's so much in 30 years that I but I'll just start with my life after the military was pretty difficult. I was got married in the military and transitioned out with the son and my husband at the time. And then we went to Michigan where he was from. So that was different because I didn't know anybody there. And then we ended up getting divorced about a year later. And then I was still in Michigan and not knowing anybody and I don't think they had any peer network for women, you know, veterans and anybody to really reach out to and stuff like that. So, like a lot of women veterans do, kind of like blend in the back and just try to, sometimes it's just easier to feel more invisible and just pretend that, you know, just try to forget that you're a veteran so that you can fit in, try to mingle in because there were no veterans around me at that time. So,
So what's it like now for you? Because that's a great snapshot of like what that initially was like, but what's it like now for you? And how long did it take to get there?
Oh gosh. It took me about 30 years. I got PTSD related to MST in the Army, and I kind of wasn't aware, and I kind of let it run my life for that long till 2019 when I got help for it. So, but yeah, so now it's pretty good because I finally found like a purpose, you know, to help other people and other vets. So
Can I
Awesome.
ask something? Can I ask
Mhm.
Carrie? Because that's what my thing was. That they pulled out and said, "Hey, you know that I was just talking about the service connected issue. It was MST." And so
Mhm.
when you said, did I hear it correctly? Did you say you didn't realize what had happened? What you know? What I'm saying
Yeah, I
the
didn't
wound
realize
adds up. The dirty
that my
ring.
symptoms were PTSD. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't.
I
Either.
Or
love
that.
that.
I
And what
didn't either.
Yeah.
Interesting.
and I
Okay.
definitely want to
Well, good.
unpack that. But let's turn it over to my man Ruben real quick. Ruben, what has life been like for you after the uniform thus far?
You're muted, Ruben.
I, I,
There.
is it just me, or is it? I can't understand. I can't understand what you're saying on
Jax,
the microphone.
Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
everybody else
Uh-uh.
can. Can you hear
Everybody
me,
else?
Ruben?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. He
Well,
said, "How has life changed for you, or how is life different for you since the uniform?"
Oh, okay. Yeah, apologize, Jax. I can't make out anything you're saying. So one of the people here can just relay. But life for me is has changed in a drastic way. In the military, I was in a high, fast moving train. I was always gone, deployment after deployment. But coming back home, what I decided to do was go back to school. And I went to the University of Texas, into the executive MBA program that they have there, and that was my way of starting to integrate back into life. And from there,
Mm.
I was able to go into business. I started one business, and I was able to do that for still doing it to this day, and that set the platform for me to be able to do other things like triple nickel. So um, for me, going back to school was good to be able to learn how to be a civilian again, and surrounding myself with people who were in the military, for people who've never been in the military. So that was key for me.
awesome. What about you, Marcus? What has life after the uniform been like for you up into this point?
Um, yeah, I'm shortly after Lauren I appeared in 1987, served in 92, training accident at Fort Irwin, and I just at the time it just kind of ended. It just kind of ended, and I went to work at the studio and kind of focused on being in the film distribution business. As glamorous as that does not sound, it was a lot of fun. I made a lot of friends. I think until 2013, when I was invited to participate at the GI Film Festival in LA, it just kind of was on the back burner. I mean, my uniform hung in the closet, and every 2 or 3 years, I'd say, "Does it still fit? Does it still fit? Oh, get a little tight." And then when I realized that the media arts was such a viable way for our family to tell their story and use media as a healing platform, I became more aware of my past in that respect, and wanted to do what I could to support some healing exercises in the family. So I guess I took a little hiatus, during the whole "don't ask, don't tell" repeal thing. It hurt me a lot that we allowed people outside our community to lead the conversation about what about the showers, what about this, what about that. And I'm thinking, what does Sean Hannity, is he making some Tom of Finland movie that he's trying to be all up in all these fantasies about what military service for gay people is all about? And it hurt a lot because I knew that there were people who were serving that were being treated poorly, and I'm glad that it's done, and I'm glad that our family is integrated and is growing to be diverse, and people are starting to understand understand that identity and starting to allow that identity, because it's only going to go from the military to outside, because it just makes sense. So I sometimes don't feel very veteran-y, but when I'm around the veteran family, it's like the best extended family a man could have. Make sense?
I love,
Yep.
I absolutely love that. And what I'm noticing amongst all of you, right, is that there was an absolute uh, journey that you took, right? Whether it was the way that you speak, right, to someone, or whether it was even recognizing that you served. But it's very interesting, or the pace of how your life has changed and where you want to refocus. But at the end of the day, what I love about US veterans collectively, and I'm so glad that we're having this show, is that there's a level of resilience there, right? It's what's in our gut to say, okay, how do I make this next part work? And that's what I love about veterans, U.S. veterans, the most. So now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about business, because each one of you is very successful in your field, and I want U.S. veterans that might be in that place of where they're couch surfing right now, or they may not have found their identity, things of that nature. Really, listening to your stories and being able to find that accountability, right? Because I think that there is an accountability to our community neighbors, non-veterans, and I think there's an accountability to ourselves to get back involved, right? Service gives us the building blocks to do the greatest things that we'll do in our life, right? And so, as we can see from the diversity of group here, that service always isn't necessarily like the greatest thing that happened in our life, right? But it does give us those foundational things, because that's the common thread that we all have. So, let's start with Brian. We'll just continue to, well, actually, let's start with Lauren. Lauren, let's talk a little bit about your business and what that has been able to do since military service.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I left the military, I think I only worked for someone else once. It definitely did that. It was like, well, because the thing about it was, I learned the difference. I'll say this, and I had one job working for someone before the military, and that was an hour and 13 minutes at McDonald's my senior year of high school. I didn't even stay on the job long enough to get the free meal. I was like, do I still get the free? They were like, no, because it was that scratchy polyester uniform and that stupid paper hat. It was okay in the back, but when they said go out and police the dining room, I was like, what's that? And they handed me a mop.
To be a fly on the wall, to see you in that paper hat, being like, welcome to McDonald's, man. Take your order.
It was horrible. It was an ugly color. I was like, this is not working, right? So that was that. And after that, I started a Shackley distribution thing. I had a window washing company, all that stuff. I've worked for myself. But then when I slipped inside, and I know, don't act, I was thinking about this question this morning for you all. I know when it came to deciding what branch to go in, because I didn't plan to go to the military. I was actually waiting for a movie to start. I went and bought my tickets too early, and they said, well, it doesn't start for another hour and 40 minutes. It's like, well, what the hell am I going to do? Looked across the street and saw a sign that said, want to see a free video? Aim high. The next day, I was at the MEP station with my hand in the air. So that's how it happened.
Gotcha.
It got me. But when I slipped, I was like, ooh, Air Force. I like that uniform. They look good. Navy, no way. Those bell bottoms, they weren't as popular then as they are. So, but I'm just saying, when I slipped inside the military uniform, it transformed me. Because as a kid who came through the foster system, 22 homes, I didn't realize until the military how much I needed to feel a part of something greater than myself.
Right. So how have those tools really helped you to be able to transverse what your business is like now?
Because, basic training, Lackland, being, in my flight, being a dorm chief, because that's what I ended up being, actually meeting and talking to people, guys, at that point, from all over the country. And it helped me just understand, to be honest with you about business, the military, what it really did for me, and as far as business, then I'll shut up about it, was that it taught me to go looking for the history of this country. As a black man, I thought the only history was, what I'd learned in roots and this and the other, that pertained to me. But when I really looked at the history through the eye of the military togetherness, that brotherhood, that sisterhood, I learned about, bartering, how this country was built on, helping each other start businesses and supply chain and all of that. And it just made me feel like I was naturally wired for it.
So it'd be safe to say that where it helped you in business the most was the fact that it really helped you start to establish a blueprint of what communications, operations, and logistics looks like, right? Or as what we used to say, to shoot, move, and communicate.
Yeah.
So Brian, what about you? Obviously, I'd love for you to, tell what you're doing now, which is just absolutely outstanding. But what led you to that road, and how's the career going now?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously going pretty good. Pretty excited about what I do. But yeah, so there's two factors there, right? There's the job I have now, which is business operations manager with the National Predators, which is epic, right, as you can imagine. And then 7-Element Athletics too. When I was getting ready to, maybe a year before I was getting ready to transition, or actually it might have been a little bit longer than that. A couple of friends of mine were getting together. Actually, I was the first sergeant of this company, and then it just turns out, oddly enough, all of my platoon sergeants played hockey. I thought that was crazy. I hadn't seen any hockey, in Tennessee at all, or anywhere for that matter.
You're a big hockey fan yourself, right? So it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Boston, and I grew up playing hockey, and so all my idols were big, some of the big hockey people. So yeah, I mean that had been sort of like a factor in my whole life up until I enlisted. But anyway, yeah. So I went from of course I enlisted in the Army and went off, did a whole bunch of deployments and all that stuff like that. But then as I was getting ready to transition, all these guys were getting together and they were playing hockey, and they were like, "You should come down and check this out." So I got down there, and something weird was going on. It looked a lot like a squad bay. Right, it looked like something that you would normally see a bunch of grunts. Just the conversation that was going on in the locker room, and not bad, right? But just digging at each other and whatever, and just kind of watch them all kind of prep and get ready. It looked a lot like kind of what we would do to get ready to do anything, do a raid.
So there was familiarity, essentially.
Right.
It gave you this sense of like, oh wow, there are elements outside of the military culture that I can still connect to.
Right, exactly. So it kind of felt connected to it, right? So it's something familiar, and I noticed that in the room you had a bunch of guys, like you had some, active duty military guys that were there because we're close to Fort Campbell. And then you had some transitioning vets, and then you had vets, guys that have been out for a really long time, some really successful people. And there was this natural mentorship that was going on from, you had some of the guys that had just come in the military talking to the transitioning guys, and the transitioning guys, most importantly, because that's the group of people that's most vulnerable. We're talking to people that had already transitioned, and we're having conversations about, they were in that really scared kind of mode. Not scared, but all of us know what it's like to transition. What now? What next?
I wouldn't say scared as much as I would say anxious.
Anxious, right?
Like not really being able to have what that idea or that grasp is, on what that next chapter looks like. So yeah.
So I mean, obviously you've got a little bit of cold feet about getting ready to jump. So it was a little nice to see some of these people. Some of them are extremely successful people, have built their own companies, large businesses, and they're kind of mentoring these kids that maybe don't have any experience in that realm, telling them, hey, look, this is where I was in your shoes, and now here I am, and this is where you're coming to. Okay, and then they help them start to build their plan. But it was really informal. And I started talking to a few friends of mine, and there was another veterans group that was sort of doing the same thing, but the person running it wasn't a veteran. She wasn't even a hockey player. So it was more of a money situation, as you can imagine. I'm sure all of you have seen some of the veteran organizations out there that are just providing like awareness, and that's it really, which is basically a like and a share on
Now,
Facebook.
I want to touch on that for a moment because I think that's a very key point. Even though community neighbors, non-veterans can be involved in things, do you think that initial brain trust should be U.S. veterans, right? Like, do you think that helps if the top of the head is a U.S. veteran?
Yeah, I do. I would say that we made up our board out of veterans and civilians, right? Because one of the things we wanted to do is kind of, later on in our mission statement, once we figured out what an amazing thing we had going on here in the locker room and all the networking and stuff that was going on, we wanted to kind of bridge a gap. Why is it so difficult? Why is it so difficult for veterans to transition into the civilian world? We're technically all civilians, we're all humans, we're all working towards the same thing, right? Why is it so difficult? Why is the communication so difficult? I think one of the main reasons is I think veterans are afraid to tell their story. And I'm not talking about war stories. I'm not, there I was up to my neck in grenade pins, right? No, that's not what you want to do. But people don't tell their service story. They don't talk about being, you don't, like you were saying, Jax, you don't have to have gone to war, 9 tours or whatever it is, right? Like the military experience itself. And I think they don't have those conversations openly and honestly with their community because they stick to the humble veteran thing. And, they don't want to humble brag and they don't want to get out there and say, hey, this is what I did. But that also translates into them not being able to translate what they did in the military into civilian speak too, right?
Well, I'm going to butt in right here. I'm going to butt in right here because I've been going like this and I chatted you and you didn't see me. So
I'm sorry.
I got to do it because we got a contract. So you guys will be right back in just a moment after we take a break for the sponsorship thing so I don't get sued. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. Now's a great time to share what you're getting here. Trust me, a lot more to come. Share the broadcast out. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
It's the Cosmo Sapiens, hosted by the Galaxis Gal and Lauren Michaels Harris.
This is the Galaxis Gal, bringing you the stories of the human beings making space for all of us. Because just like on Earth, in space, humanity should be our business.
Everybody wants to be an astronaut. Every Thursday and Sunday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. on iRock Space Radio.
Okay, welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. It's a Veterans Day free-for-all with co-host Cowboy Jax Young. We're going to get everybody back in here, but before we do, I want to talk to you about some great choices. One of them, for me, was when I switched from Diet Coke and all the other power drinks to this one, V8. V8, why is it good? And it's a better choice, in my opinion. 100% pure vegetable juice from concentrate. 2 full servings, count them, 1, 2 of vegetables in every can. And guess what? The best part? Only 60 calories. Easy, easy peasy to find. Head right down the juice aisle at your local grocer, and you'll find it. In my store, it's right next to the Kool-Aid boxes. Go figure. Don't say, oh, I wish I would have had a V8. Just pop the top, get it done, and have one today. We're going to get everybody in here, starting with Mr. Jax, Carrie, Brian. Here they come, Marcus and Ruben. Everybody's back. You were dropping something right before we left. What was it, Jax?
Yeah. Well, first of all, welcome back to Bathrobe Moments. I am your co-host for today for the Veteran Takeover. And we have some amazing U.S. veterans with us today. And our focus is not really talking about military service, but more so life after the uniform, right? What is our life like in that next chapter? And these individuals have not only done well with transversing what that next step looks like, but they're at the top of their game. And so before the break, we were with business operations manager for the Predators, and also I do believe the founder of the Seven Element Athletics, Brian Bailey. Brian was making a great point in talking about telling their story. And I felt like that where I wanted to give just a little bit of insight from my experiences. I don't think it's so much that they don't want to tell their story. I just don't think that the skill sets are necessarily there consistently for them to understand and articulate what their story looks like. As an example of that, look at someone like Lauren, right, who served during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, or look at someone like, Carrie, who had to navigate, military sexual trauma in that next chapter, or, Marcus, or, even Ruben, right? Because in Ruben's situation, he goes from being this super high speed, SF guy to like what is everyday normal supposed to look like, because these guys deploy constantly, right? It's not like, they're sitting at home hardly ever. They're always involved with something. And so I think what I love the most about Seven Element, Brian, is it provides that opportunity for people to strip down all of those expectations and just be able to be there with each other as that icebreaker. Am I correct in that? Is that what you guys are able to do by getting these guys out and playing hockey?
Yeah, I mean, we basically provide a platform for them to get together, socialize, network, do that stuff, based around sports, right? And hockey's our biggest program. We've got a few other programs, but we do have 3 or 4 different programs within the hockey. We've got we actually have it's called the Sled Preds, but it's USA Hockey now, USA Sled Hockey. Almost the entire USA Sled Hockey team is based out of Nashville. 92% of them are veterans, and they're one of our programs, the Sled Hockey program, and every single member of our sled team has made the national team, the Olympic team. So pretty amazing stuff. And then we have our normal skate, which we have every single Sunday at the Ford Ice Centers, either in Bellevue or Antioch. But one of the big things that we do is we take care of everything around the hockey so that they're not worried about it. So even if
I love that
somebody shows up, it's their very first time, we've got people that come in, they went to a Preds game, they loved it, and that's another thing. We have a ticket program too. So a lot of people join just to get the tickets. And then they kind of get involved in everything else and then figure out the amazingness that goes on, with everybody getting together.
Okay. Can I jump in? I got to ask a question because I'm getting some comments that I want to Carrie and Ruben, toss this question between the two of you if you could. We see a lot of people that are veteran businesses. I know in my Ace Hardware, every time I'm walking past, there was a cutting board displayed last week, and I have more than I need. Trust me, cutting boards. But as soon as I saw that veteran-owned business sticker, I backed up, bought another cutting board. Do you find, Ruben, because you both have products, and I'm just curious, do you find, Carrie, with a Soldier Girl coffee, it's all in there, woman-owned, veteran, Soldier Girl. That was very clever. I must give you that. And Ruben, same question. Do you find that it helps to have that slapped on your product, or in some cases, is it a hindrance? How are you getting? What are you getting from that? I'm just curious because I don't have it on my stuff, and I always wonder, well, why don't I? So talk about that.
That's interesting. I love that question.
Yeah, talk about that if you could. Carrie, ladies first.
Yeah, I think it does help a lot. I mean, because you're attracting the majority of people that support the military, and sometimes they don't know how to, besides saying thank you for their service, they don't really know other ways to thank veterans. So I get a lot of support from civilians and military.
And military. Okay. And that's, thank you for putting it out like that. Cause I was like, I should have asked her, which do you get more from, the civilian or, but you think it's a pretty good blend? Would you say, Carrie?
I'd say more veteran, but it is a good blend because I'm online, and I think the more I get offline in retail, it'll, more civilians. So.
And last question for you, Carrie. Do you find when I know you guys do, Ruben, you guys do a lot of those events. where there's a lot of veteran-owned businesses there. And let me ask, when people walk up and they meet you, Carrie, are they surprised when they go, how long did you serve? What'd you do? Are they shocked still that a woman served all that time and did what you did?
Well, here's the thing. I use my business to inspire veterans, other veterans, and all my events, I hire veterans to do them for me. I feel like it's giving them, some purpose, something to do. I mean, they really support it and they have fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually in Texas where there's a lot more veterans. So I live in Illinois. So I haven't been to any events yet.
Okay. You live in Illinois? Where?
I live by Peoria. I know you're from Chicago, right?
I'm in Naperville. You're like, I could throw something and hit
Okay,
you.
all right. Let's keep the train rolling, y'all. Y'all can talk offline. Let's get Big Dog Ruben in there.
Forgot. That's what he forgot right there, y'all. He forgot. I got the controller in my hand. That's what he forgot.
Exactly. Exactly. I can't.
You want to walk back around and take another look at that one? Okay. No, because that's important. Carrie, thank you for that. And you and I are going to have some coffee. Now, Ruben, same question. But then also throw this one out there. Marcus, you and Brian, you as well. Even you, Cowboy Jackson, I'm turning the table because you have a product. You have a business. Carrie, you and Ruben both have military in your brand name on there. Brian, you really kind of do, but not on everything. And Marcus, I don't know if you do or not. Why?
Yeah, he has Vetflix, so I mean, he has it right in the title for sure.
So what is that? Is it possible to have a veteran brand without?
Yeah, I'll take that one on. I'll take 10 seconds on that one. We specifically. We went away from, we didn't want to name anything like hero this or warrior that. There's a million and one, veteran, groups that are like that or businesses like that. We were just trying to avoid that whole hero thing like that. Cause I think it kind of, what ends up happening is you kind of start pushing civilians away a little bit by doing that. You want them to come to us so that we can have those conversations.
That's a great.
You might push them away by calling them civilians. Also, one of the biggest things that we focus on is we've developed a term that we're in the process of trademarking called community neighbor, non-veteran, right? Because I think that, if you're under a government contract, then they're absolutely a civilian. But if you're wanting to be able to interact with them on a daily basis, that is a part of your community. It's not something that, you're alienated from. So, but I'd like to hear from Ruben because he's been quiet, and Marcus also.
Right on. We have a different we have a bit of a different problem set with ours. Obviously, triple nickel. If you peel the layers of the onion, you'll get to why we named the company that. But in our community, particularly in the Black and Brown communities, we see a lack of what people perceive as patriotism, and for us, patriotism looks a little bit different. We don't associate it so much with 1776 as a lot of people do, because a lot of us really can't relate to that. We relate it more to community. So when we have a problem of how to get people in our community to buy into the notion that it's okay to serve, or not all police are bad, and if you want to put on a uniform, it doesn't have to be the last resort. So we don't market ourselves as a veteran-led or veteran-owned company. We don't even have the certifications. We do it through the form of music. We tie a lot of our designs back to hip hop, and that's an even medium that a lot of people can relate to. So it's a different problem set than a lot of other companies have, because we're targeting a community that not everybody's going into right now, if that makes sense.
Absolutely love that, man. Like, would love to talk to you offline about how we share in those same philosophies, because one of the things that we're working on, and then this is a great way into a segue into Marcus, is diminishing those stereotypes and those biases through entertainment, right? Because the one place where we sort of all meet is, I may not know where you come from and you may not know where I come from, but we both might be digging on some Run DMC. You know what I'm saying? And so once that conversation starts, Now we start to see ourselves. And when you really take that snapshot back to basic, when everybody first got there, that is exactly what helped us all to start to saturate, was the interest that we have. So Marcus, would you touch on what you're doing with Vetflix in the entertainment industry on the same front that Ruben's working on?
Sure. Vetflix is. I come from a background in theatrical distribution. Jax, thank you for 435 films through 20th Century Fox and Universal Pictures. I've taken out 15 films independently to movie theaters since leaving in 2013, and my relationships are primarily kind of focused in the decision maker level at the AMC's, the Regals, the Alamo Draft Houses, and places like that, where people are very curious about what this new era of movie going looks like, and how does the movie theater broaden its reach to the community, and what does that look like moving forward. And there's still, we're coming out of a pandemic where most people had to close for several months. And of course, the studios are being really bad with their whole policies and how they sell movies, and they're being very, very, very uber competitive and trying to squeeze the little guys out, which is fine.
But I think the focus is, for you specifically, is the fact that you are wanting to get a diversity of veteran content to be
Correct.
able to be looked at
Correct.
that veteran, or at that professional level, right? Veteran made content that doesn't have to do with the stereotypes and stuff like that.
Right, diverse and authentic, and not always kind of focusing on that side of where Hollywood always wants to go with the. And I don't want to be disrespectful, but the post-traumatic stress film festival, which is where every studio seems to think that that's where the interest is. And fortunately, the studios have learned a little bit recently that that's not exactly where the studios are. Oh, someone's pulled up alongside me. Okay. They're just backing into the spot behind me, but making lots of eye contact. It was weird. Anyway,
you and Lauren are birds of a feather, man. I swear to God, it's like a squirrel, and all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, where are we?"
No, they're probably like, "Hey, what's that creepy guy doing sitting here?"
Right,
before we even open. Right, I feel you, Marcus. Right, he's calling you in. But
it is Culver City.
Right.
Yep.
A lot of factories and industrial stuff out in Culver City. For real, you see something moving, you better watch it. I already know. I told you. So listen, wait a minute. Wait. Marcus, because I don't want to forget. I'm 59. I'll forget in a second. Wait, Jax. I want to know this. Do you think that there will ever come a day in movies when they do a movie about whatever that has to do, because as an LGBT community member, we're very vigilant when we watch television and movies, that if you got a trans person, they better be real. If you got a gay person in a role, we hope they're really gay. Because right. And they're pretty good at that. So I wonder, will the day come? I see you, Jax. Will the day ever? You know what? He ain't gonna learn. Will the day ever come when they will look for veterans? Because there's a lot of veteran actors. We have a friend who does Renford, and I asked him, do they ever call you up and say, "Hey, we have a role that fits what he did"? Because what was Ren? Ren was Special Forces too, Ruben, right?
Yeah, we were in the same battalion.
Right. So, like, you get what I'm saying, right, Ruben and Marcus? Like, if they needed a Special Forces actor, are they ever going to start looking for a person who really lived it?
Oh, they already do that. I mean, I can answer that question. I think the bigger question is, are they going to cast people in roles that don't have anything to do with combat, that are U.S. veterans, that tell other U.S. veteran stories? Because they are saturated with the stuntmen, they are saturated with the consultants. Like, that's the biggest problem in Hollywood, is the fact that the only way that they think that they can sell anything of our community is if it has to do with blood, guts, or mental illness.
Well, that's my point, though. That's why I don't think that's the bigger question. I think the question is, when people like Brian get the job because they lived it, they get to have conversations off camera and talk about things. Because if you don't, the person who was pretending to have lived that is going to talk about where he had lunch on the break. he's not going to talk about anything else that they go, did that really happen? Is that really?
Yeah, but we need other stories. We need other stories in Hollywood too. And Marcus and I have thoroughly had this conversation again and again and again. I know we're we're almost at the top of the hour, so I want to be able to get into the stereotypes thing. But Marcus, just real quick, answer that question of what your thoughts are, because that's the whole point of impact releasing in Vetflix, correct?
Correct. Is that authentic, the authenticity and the diversity, and I just think that you actually bring up a really good point. Being involved in the disability community, the number of times that there's an actor who is a wheelchair user that would be a great attorney that doesn't get the part to read because the casting people still don't see disabled people in other roles that aren't just disabled guy in a wheelchair. And it'd be great when the time comes. And again, this is how do creatives and someone said to me one time, how are you going to make any money from that? And I think as a family, we're smart enough to figure out the right equation, the right algorithm that we can start our own projects. The costs are so appealing now, especially in my lane for theatrical. We can get things into movie theaters at a much lower cost than we ever have been able to during the early days of digital cinema or even photochemical. So I think there's an appeal. I think there's an urgency, and I think that with a group of creative people who want to listen to each other and tell each other stories, the opportunities are endless.
Marcus, real quick, I just want to know for my own shits and giggles.
Yeah.
What about, there's a lot of veterans that have great books that have nothing to do with battle and this and the other. There's some of those other stories. Is that starting to find its way in where they're seriously taking a look at these things as possible screenplays and things?
I do. I'm not that connected to the creative side, but I've heard a lot of people asking questions about that. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's encouraging. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Right. No, all I was going to say is that's what SHF does. We can help you make those productions. Marcus is our partner. He can help you to be able to get distribution, that kind of thing, because that's our focus. So at the top of the hour here, I want to thank everyone for their time and their consideration. But real quick is a round robin, starting with Lauren again. And please be quick so we can get everybody in. What did
he say? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, go ahead.
What is one stereotype that you have faced that you've overcome in life after the uniform, or one that you have had to deal with that you're still like wanting to get connected with someone to understand how to navigate that?
My biggest one is the thank you for your service. Because it's almost like when my mom used to yell at us for starting to eat while we're still saying our blessing.
It's obligatory.
While we're praying, you better hope that ain't poison.
So Lauren, have you overcame that, or is that something you're still navigating?
I'm still navigating because I have to stop and go. Do I want to say something? Size them up,
Right.
And say like, do you really mean that, or do you? You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know how to do it yet.
Carrie?
All right, I have a lot, but I'll just mention one. So around 2020, I was a nurse still at the time, and my supervisor, I was having problems with my PTSD symptoms actually getting involved in my work. So I told her I had PTSD, and then from that moment on, she kind of treated me differently. And she wouldn't give me as much work, or she'd give me barely anything to do. And so stuff like that. And I know that they can probably assume that you're like a ticking time bomb or something when you tell them you have PTSD or something, you're crazy.
So have you
I
got past
I know
this?
that I was treated differently after that.
Yeah. Have you got past this, or is this something you're still navigating like Lauren?
I think I'm really past it because I did get 100% from the military, so I don't have to worry about all that anymore. I don't have to.
Wow.
So there's a validation in that, right? Like there's a validation that says, hey, this is who I am. I did the work that I needed to do, and this is why I can have the answers that I have now, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Brian?
I think one that I get a lot is that we're all experts on what's going on overseas at any given moment. And I think there's like Ruben could probably attest to this, that the battlefield changes by the minute, right? It's not. So somebody asked me, I'd deploy, whatever. And no matter how many times I came and went, as soon as I would come back, the minute I hit the plane, I had no idea what was going on the ground, so I see a lot of experts on some of the big shows, CNN or whatever, that may have deployed once or twice in 2003, like one of the invasions, but they're talking about what's going on the ground in Afghanistan right now. And I think that's a little frustrating for me to.
So have you got past that, or are you still navigating that?
No, I think that's the one. It's the rock in my shoe. I think it's not something you can really get by. And then, the other one is that we're all victims somehow, right? That we're all as soon as they find out you were in the military, or, if you've deployed or not or whatever, they all assume that we're all victims and that we're going to be crawling under tables and fireworks drive us nuts and things like that. So that one I have gotten past.
Yeah. Hey, Ruben, for you, I love that your brand is centered around being able to tell that different story to a specific demographic. Do you feel that, so we know about that stereotype, but can you talk about a different one that perhaps you've either overcame or that you're still navigating?
Yeah. Geez, I honestly, my biggest one is the stereotype is again that not all veterans are Thor, right? And or resemble that, and I think that's something that a lot of us here can relate to, because it all comes down to a story. No matter if you're trying to influence the next generation, or if you are just trying to convince somebody that, hey, it takes a village to make this thing work. So to me, that's something I'm going to continue to work on. That's something I haven't got over, and it's going to take more than just us to make it happen. It's a conversation just like we're having now.
Awesome, brother. Marcus?
When people say thank you for your service, I always say I'd do it again if they wanted old guys, because I know in people's hearts they're trying to say the right thing. I think part of the thing that drives me nuts about the one thing is about politics sometimes, and how we kind of get divided, red blue kind of stuff, and forget that the commander in chief is the commander in chief, and it'd be nice if we could get behind whoever that is for the 4 years that they are in office.
Interesting.
Very.
Okay. Well, I know that.
What about you? Same question. Nice try.
Yep.
Oh, my biggest one is thank you for your service. And I think the biggest reason why is because of the fact that you don't know what I did in my service. You have no idea like what I either may have sacrificed or what my experience may have been. And so what we're really working hard at SHF is being able to change that narrative to, if someone feels compelled to say something to you, just say, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you did, because that's a personal sentiment from them. That's not them thanking me for something that they don't know what I did or didn't do. Right. And I can get behind that. I can get behind what someone else thinks. But as soon as you put that thank you in there and you don't personally know me, it becomes disingenuous at that point. Right.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I just wanted to throw this out there, extend an invitation, including you, Ruben. You've been here before. But for you newbies, Marcus, Brian, and Carrie, you're welcome to come back individually. I would love to have you, so that the audience here can go even deeper with you. All of you are so intriguing, every single one. And there's so much more. Brian, I'm sorry we didn't have time to show your footage, but that's why we want to get you all back. And Carrie, we know, but congratulations on the commercial that we know you guys just did with Jack's Discovery Channel and all that. And Ruben, all the wonderful things that are happening with Triple Nickel now. They have their own manufacturing plant. They're doing all the garments and things themselves now. And Marcus, I can't wait to hear about you. You're out on the front lines, my man, and doing big things. And in a place where I know oftentimes what is your passion could make you feel or appear to be like a second-class citizen. there, because you know what, that again, I get it. So I can't wait, and I certainly hope all of you will agree to come back when you have some time. And Cowboy Jax,
Yeah, I'd like to share a final thought, if that's okay.
how much money you got? Of course, go ahead.
How much money you need, dog?
Oh, you kidding? No.
So my final thought today is Veterans Day, and I want you to focus on over 100 years that individuals have went on in life after the uniform in their own movement to help literally build this country. And as you can see from these individuals today, that they are no different than you. They have things that they have to overcome. They have things that they have goals that they want to succeed in. And if you notice, all of them said that they're vulnerable and transparent in what those things are. So as a community of veterans and community neighbors, let's find a way to be able to work together to be successful in the next 100 years for veterans and community neighbors, to literally create a cultural shift and a unified economy. I'm Cowboy Jackson. I thank you so much, Lauren Michael Harris, for this amazing opportunity to co-host Bathrobe Moments.
It was fun. Thank you for being a good sport there, Jaxie. And listen, to all of you out there, listen, make every day a day to celebrate, whether it's Veterans Day, Mother's Day, just today. Why? Because every day that we're above ground is a great day. Take what you know and take what you need to the next level. Find one E in one R. Take great to greater, bright to brighter, strong to stronger, and bold to bolder. Do that, and you're going to leave a legacy that will last through the generations. I'll see you tomorrow morning out front for our next episode, where my guest will be horror author. He has a brand new book that'll scare your socks off just in time for Christmas. Author Keith Mullinson's back with his new #1 scary story. Join us tomorrow morning for your next episode of Bathrobe Moments. Be great and be greater to others. Bye-bye, all. Thank you guys again. Thank you. Thanks, Jax.
Thank you.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Oh, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind.